Monica Makes It Happen is proudly supported by Goya. If it's Goya, it has to be good. JP Morgan Chase, New York's hometown bank for over 225 years, and by Ponce Bank, your community bank.
You're watching the Monica Makes It Happen show, and I can't even believe she's here. We have a commissioner here in our studios, our fancy studios. Thank you so much for joining us, Commissioner Saloni Sethi.
Saloni Sethi, and thanks for
Saloni
having me.
Sethi is here, and she's with the Mayor's Office to End Domestic and Gender-Based Violence. You have such an important job, and we're always talking about money and financial empowerment, and housing is my favorite thing in the world. And you're touching all of those important topics. $1.2 million in housing stability microgrants available right now, and there's a deadline on it, so our viewers can get that money now. Tell me all about it.
Sure. So these microgrants are really for any survivor of a domestic or gender-based violence. That includes things like sexual assault, human trafficking, gender-based hate violence, to meet their financial needs so they can maintain or gain safe, stable housing. The goal is really to help avoid shelter entry and keep people safely housed.
So right at the top, the money is available now, and you're trying to make it as easy. I love this. I love this about you. You're trying to make it as easy as possible for people watching right now to get that money. Let's say if they need help. What are the three things that to qualify for that money?
Sure. So first of all, you have to be a survivor of domestic or gender-based violence. We don't require any proof. Right? So you don't need a police report. You don't need an order of protection. Really, we're trying to make this as easy as possible. It's just self-reporting as a survivor. You have to have some kind of need that's related to housing. And you'll have to come into one of our 5 borough-based family justice centers and talk to a case manager. And they'll do an assessment to see whether this is the right fit for you or if there's something else, right? Because this is not meant to be sort of ongoing long-term assistance. It's supposed to be one-time sort of assistance in the short term that gets you to where you need to be stable longer term.
And Commissioner, we always like to have people on the show that have these incredible stories, and you have an incredible story. There's always a reason why someone's passionate about what they're doing, and you have this incredible story. Give me a little bit, just a taste of why you do what you do. You're in charge of such a big organization that's doing big work for so many years, on the front lines, really. Why? Why are you so driven to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I always say I come to this work personally because I grew up in domestic violence, right? And so for me, it's something that such a part of my home life, my childhood experience, sort of everything that informed, sort of who I am today. And I think, especially when it comes to how I think about it, my family's from India. We immigrated here. It's me, my sister, my mom, and my dad who was abusive. All of our visas were dependent on my dad who was abusive, right? And so when I think about the economic piece and the financial independence piece, that was so prevalent in my mind that the main reason my mom didn't leave, and my mom is an electrical engineer, she had a career back in India. The main reason she didn't leave is because she couldn't work here, and she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to safely house me and my sister and support us and kind of give us the life that we deserved, right? And so I think that is such a part of why this work in particular and the economic empowerment work in particular is so important to me with survivors.
I think so many of our viewers will relate to this, and I know I relate to this. What we're talking about, the financial abuse, I think we're going to talk a little bit more on the second block, but you have this quote that I love, and I'm going to tweet this out and put this on my Instagram. Can you share? I don't want, you got to say it because it's your quote.
So, it's sometimes my most extreme way of saying it, because I think like you need to be financially independent in order to navigate your safety and navigate your options, period, right? And so my most extreme way of saying it is that in capitalism, the only real problem is poverty, right? And what I mean by that is that, yes, you can still have issues with substance use or mental health or domestic violence, but if you have money, you can navigate them in a way that you avoid the most extreme consequences, which often involve homelessness, right? So if I was in an abusive relationship, I'd be able to, maybe move out, maybe get an apartment, maybe live with my sister, right? But I wouldn't end up homeless. And there's so many negative consequences, sort of associated with that like, that's sort of what I mean when I say that, in capitalism, the only real problem is poverty.
It's such an important thing to say out loud. And I think that our viewers are really going to love that. I know I love that. And so coming up, we're going to take a quick commercial break to pay our bills. We're going to talk to you about what financial abuse means and a little bit more about the resources, because there's so many resources thanks to the city and thanks to this commissioner. That's when we come back. All right, and we're back. I can't even believe she's here. We have a commissioner here in our studios, and it's really important work that you do. And I didn't even know that, again, there's an actual justice center in every borough. Tell me about that again.
Sure. So our office, the Mayor's Office to End Domestic and Gender-Based Violence, or NGBV, has been around for about 25 years, which folks don't know. And we opened our first Family Justice Center in Brooklyn in 2005. We just had its 20th anniversary.
That's
We
incredible.
now have one in each borough. And really the idea behind these family justice centers is that when you're a survivor of domestic or gender-based violence, you're often interfacing with multiple systems, multiple providers, right? You may be in family court, you may be in criminal court, you may have a child welfare case with ACS. So how do we take all the services and supports you need and put them in one place so that you and your children can access that service
That's
easily,
brilliant.
right?
It's brilliant because when you're in crisis, you don't have to talk to 6 different agencies.
You don't, right? And so I think, what we say is we're trying to provide everything that a survivor needs from crisis to stability. And those services have grown over the years, right? And I think going back to the accessibility piece, all services are accessible regardless of immigration status. They're free, they're confidential, available in any language you speak, regardless of your gender identity. And all you have to do is sort of walk in. They're walk-in centers, which also, right, a lot of survivors, what happens is, they call for help and an appointment is 2 weeks later. And those 2 weeks, they change their mind, right?
Yeah,
And so,
you can change your mind in 20 minutes.
20
because
minutes. And so
it takes so much courage sometimes.
It's hard, right? It's hard to
Yeah.
come forward. You second guess yourself. So you could walk in, you'll meet with somebody that day that'll kind of go over your story, understand your needs, and then you'll be connected to a case manager who will then work with you throughout as long as you want to be there to meet all your other needs, right?
You're like the perfect person. Do you ever feel that you were divinely appointed to this position? Because you're like the perfect person for this position because of your story, but also because of your expertise. I mean, you're a financial mogul. I mean, you have that mind. So you know what I'm saying? So you're using that for good, which you don't see very often.
No, and I think, again, for me, it's like, I love this job. I've been with the city for 9 years, mostly at this office. There's nothing like this job. And what I always say is, I wanted to become commissioner of this office, not just for the work, but because I've had so many other roles in the office that I really wanted to support with such an amazing team. And we do so much with a very small team of people.
Yes.
And we're sort of like
that sounds
advocates.
familiar. That's like network television. We're the same way.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm always like, I wanted to be the commissioner because I really want to support these amazing people that I know are doing this incredible work, right? That is so often overlooked and undervalued.
Well, I love numbers. So what's the number? It's 15,000. Is that right? 15, but 16,000 have actually.
So yes, I mean, that's just our family justice centers, right? So we've seen in 2025 about 15,000 unique clients, and it's over 60,000 visits, right?
Wow.
Which means people are coming back, and we have internal data where we see that clients would recommend these services to other survivors as well. And so we're
that's
really
when
proud of
you're
that
really
work.
doing the work, because I think that's such a compliment in what you're doing, because people trust you. And I get the same thing. We get so many referrals when we do stories. Other people say, "Oh, she can help us," and that you can help us.
No, and now you have us to refer to as well.
I know. I was just saying, and I think that a lot of people know this. We help people in some of their worst moments, and they turn to the TV, our station, and our social media, and we're the last resort usually. And I get that all the time. Like, a lot of the emails we get say, "You're my last hope." No pressure, but I feel it, and so then. I'm like, who can help? And what agency? Yeah. Well, now I know exactly who can help. Exactly. It's you.
Yeah, you can send them our way, and we'll sort of work with them across, multiple systems and whatever their needs are.
It's great. I mean, a lot of times it's the red tape, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's always about the red tape. So tell me about financial abuse. I'm interested in what this means, because this is very toxic, but it's also very prevalent, I think. Yeah. It's happening to many of us.
Yeah. I mean, I think the statistic is that it's like 99% of survivors experience some form of financial abuse, right? And so I think it can be sort of obvious and overt. So there's things people might recognize immediately, like somebody, denying you access to your bank accounts, withholding money or giving you an allowance, somebody saying you can't work or can't go to school, right? Somebody maybe conversely refusing to contribute financially to the household, so then the survivor has to take on multiple jobs or debt, right? So all of those sort of more obvious things. And then there's sort of more subtle things like coercing you into taking out a loan in your name, or potentially taking out debt using your social security without you knowing about it, or even extreme jealousy of coworkers, right? So the workplace becomes a point of conflict in the relationship, and then you kind of stop going there or feel uncomfortable going there in order to appease your partner. But really the overall, the dynamic, and the other thing, it's like with so many forms of abuse, right? Oftentimes it starts out as care and generosity, right? Like, let me take the stress off you. Like, let me handle the finances. You don't have to work. You can, stay home, figure out what you're doing with your life or whatever. And then, the real essential question is like, when you want to change that dynamic, can you? Right? Because people will get into these situations willingly because it feels like care and it feels like love. But then when they want to get out of them is when they realize that it's actually control, right? It's because all of a sudden then you're like, you can't shift it.
So then what's the first step? What can someone do? Like, let's say if they're really relating to what you're saying, and they want that first step, what do they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think reach out for help, but that's the number one thing, right? It's like we are so fortunate to be in a city that has services like these, but you can go to nyc.gov/FJC to find out about our family justice centers.
nyc.gov/FJC
to find out about find out about family justice
That's
centers.
So easy to remember. And are you on Instagram, all the socials?
We're on all the socials.
Perfect.
NYC NGBV, I think, on Instagram.
I love Instagram. That's my thing. It's Instagram.
And we have like a 24-hour hotline as well that you can call. It's 1-800-621-HOPE, 1-800-621-4673, and that's also run by our office. We really, again, there's multiple ways to reach us, but that first step is really just all about reaching out.
Can you tell me a story about this? About some give me some hope here. Like, what's a story where, that we can relate to that gives us a little bit of hope, because it is a dark time.
I think about two stories. I mean, one, I think just for me personally, there's a client that always comes to mind when I think about housing and all of it. A client that I had in 2012 when I was doing direct services, who didn't have immigration status, had children born here, and is working with us. I was actually working in an economic empowerment program to try and get clients back to work. And
you're incredible. I love how she just throws these things in at
Yeah, no, and she's and she was from Mali, and it was going to be a long road for her, because while she's waiting, what's great about the work is because we could work with her on working on immigration status. In that time while she was waiting, she could go get a GED, go get certified as a nursing assistant, right? We got her into permanent housing, and I'd lost touch with her. And then when my son was like in 6th grade, we were at the New York State Chess Championships. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, Saloni. And I'm like, Mariama. And her daughter was playing in the state chess, along with my son.
Is that not amazing?
It's just like, that's one that always comes to mind.
You are my kindred sister right here, because I helped someone get their heat recently. Her name was Maria, and I think she's okay with me telling the story. I was in the Bronx covering some other story. I know I'm supposed to wrap, but I can't. And she... I couldn't remember how I knew her. Like, it was a few years later, and she came over to me in the Bronx event. She said, "You helped me restore my heat, and now my son and I have a scholarship." Because when you fix a home or you help them with housing, you're helping the family.
It's really hard to understate how important it is. Right? It really is.
I got a scholarship at CUNY. My son got a scholarship to Regis High School, the REACH program. My whole life changed. You have to see our new home, and that we helped them, the transfer. And so we stay on these stories, but it reminds me, you help one person, you help their whole family and their community rise. And that's what you're doing every single day.
It's really,
You're amazing. Really, and when we come back from our commercial break, I'm going to do a speed round that I like to do with my guests. Okay. This is going to be interesting, and hopefully give more hope to our viewers. That's coming up. Okay, we're back, and I'm dying about these stories. Tell me more stories of hope and healing that your office has seen.
Yeah, so I think, I think of another time when I actually first stepped into this role as commissioner, one of the ways that they announce you is you do an interview, and you have to pick, a nonprofit partner to do it with. And I picked New Destiny Housing, which is an amazing org. I mean, there's nobody like them. They do permanent housing
there's
for
no
DV.
One like,
there's nobody
no
like
one
them.
Like New Destiny.
There's, because they're focused on housing, on permanent housing for DV survivors. I know their ED would agree with me. I wish there was like 10 of them in the city. There's only one org that does this.
We need to make that happen.
More. But as part of that, I met these survivors and, who had received permanent housing through New Destiny and were then invited me into their homes, right? And it was just like the most beautiful, special thing to walk into their homes, to see these women who were so proud of like their space, right? Who had decorated the way they decorated, the joy and the love with which they decorated those spaces, right? And to your point earlier, it's like they were building communities, right? It was like one of them was cutting hair for others out of her bathroom. It was just like this lovely, lovely environment where like we're just seeing just what it did for them in terms of like liberating them and really making them feel like this is theirs.
I wish we could tell those stories more. And the reason why you're telling them anonymously is a lot of times our stories, we can't put them on television. So full disclosure, we've done these stories for years, and I'm so grateful that you're here because now we can talk about it and we can, I think it's so important. I always have regret about that, as a lot of the stories that especially the thrivers and the survivors, we can't tell on television. We have to protect them, rightfully so. But I feel like their stories are so important. Like your knowledge is so important. Your stories.
They really are, right? And I think that's why we so appreciate people like you even like taking an interest in having these conversations, right?
I'll do it every day if you want to.
Get all your friends to do it.
Let's do a podcast. I'm semi-joking, but I think we should. I think this is a very important topic.
And I'll mention that we do have our office has a network of survivor leaders that are sort of far enough out from the experience that they speak about their stories.
That's right.
Okay. For us all the time, because you're right.
Speaking about your story, and I think I have my own personal stories, and I think as we get older and as we get wiser and maybe more comfortable with our own stories, we realize that it's really helpful to others to share. Because if we do, then it makes us all more courageous. Talk to me a little bit. Now, here's a little final wrap here. The $1.2 million, if someone needs money right now and is a survivor, what do they do?
So they should call any one of our their borough-based family justice center, right? And so that information is there at nyc.gov/FJC. Call and say you're inquiring about the housing stability microgrant, and you will meet somebody and have an assessment.
And we have to do this by
June 30th.
I can't believe we have a goal. We have to spend this money. I love that.
Yeah.
We have to. This is money that you fought for survivors, and now we need to spend it. We need people that need the money.
Yeah, and what I'll say is, there's no harm in reaching out, because even if this is not the right fit for you, we will make sure that you get other support that you need, right? It may not be that, one-time assistance may not help you. That doesn't mean we don't have other things that can, right? And so I think even if you're reaching out for this, you're reaching out, and that's the important part.
I love we're talking about community healing. You said there's 3 areas of community healing. Can you tell me about what are the areas? Because I always just thought of, okay, it's the moms. I always think about moms in my head. I don't know why. Yeah. But it's so much more than that.
So much more than that. And I think, as our work has evolved, obviously, first and foremost, our role is to stabilize survivors, give them the support that they need. But I think over time, what we've sort of learned and seen in the work is that so many survivors, what they want most, what they keep asking for, is they want something that'll make the abuse stop, because they know that even if they leave a harmful situation, that person may go harm other people, right? And I think really thinking about how trauma is passed on and how violence is this learned behavior that kind of perpetuates is really where you start talking about community healing, right? Because I think so much of our work that I'm sort of most excited about and that I think is most forward-looking when I think about ending gender-based violence is really around prevention education, right? So helping people understand what is healthy, what is unhealthy, what is consent, right? Trauma-informed accountability. So really kind of helping people who have caused harm, because we've all been harmful in some ways in some situations. Nobody's perfect. We've all been both sides. We've all been harmed and been harmed. So how do we humanize that experience and then really help people who have caused harm or want to change their behavior, or help hold them accountable by saying that's not okay, right?
Yeah.
And how do we really equip communities with the tools that they need to navigate healthy conflict and consent and boundaries, right? Because I think that really is the longer term goal of our work, is to make sure that individuals and communities stop accepting harm in interpersonal relationships. That's really the only way we shift culture and kind
of. But I love how you're talking so much about the emotional and the mental aspect of it, because I feel like we always talk about the practical, but that's important too. I didn't realize the financial empowerment. Having someone like you at the top is very valuable, because that's also an added thing, is the financial empowerment. Can you tell me about that? How are you helping in that realm?
So I think, again, we have all kinds of services, focused on economic empowerment, including, we do like at our FJCs, we do things like tax prep, we'll do financial literacy, there's, financial counseling, there's help with coerced debt. And I really think, it's this idea that like, if you are financially independent, you have so many more tools to navigate your safety as a survivor. That's so important, right?
Say that again. I got to hear that again.
If you are financially independent, you have so many more tools to navigate your safety. How do we expect somebody who, can't sort of clothe, feed, and house themselves and their children to then make decisions that support safety, right?
Yes.
And so, I think it's unrealistic.
Yeah, and then the housing, my favorite.
The housing, big part of it.
Who knew that you're so key in that? So how did that happen? We've talked about the emotional, the mental, the financial, and then the housing. Let's go back full circle. Why is the housing such a big part of what you do?
I'm like, it's New York City, right? Housing should be a big part of what all of us do.
Gosh,
I think,
so
sometimes
expensive.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, look, even in the best of circumstances, like maintaining your housing is challenging in this city. And so like, think about that with all the compounded things our clients are dealing with. It becomes so hard. And I think survivors have this impossible choice sometimes where it's like, either I hold on to this house, right, and accept the abuse, or I leave and I step into this unknown that is like shelter, homelessness.
And you can't take that leap. They get stuck.
Yeah. It's a rational choice, right, sometimes. And so they're like, I'd rather sort of like, deal with the devil I know than the uncertainty out there, right? Because it is hard. It is hard in a place like New York City in particular. And so I do think the housing work is some of the most impactful in terms of really giving survivors not only the physical space, but like the emotional and mental space they need to heal.
And I love that. So now 3 ending questions that I always ask all of my guests. Your biggest success that you, like what you feel you're most proud of in this kind of work?
I'll say honestly, what I feel like I'm most proud of is that like I've maintained my values and my character.
Wow.
In this work.
Drop the mic. That's hard to do. I get it.
I think it's really easy to let this stuff change you, and I feel like I haven't, and and that goes like maintaining healthy relationships with other human beings, right? I think that's really something.
And
I'm
loving
proud of.
yourself. I can tell you love yourself and you love others, because that comes from. You got to love yourself first,
place
right?
of security, right? In some ways,
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about the other stuff, that you traveled a lot. You've seen a lot of other communities, and you're a thoughtful person. You're very
I try.
present.
Thank you.
You're a present person.
Yeah.
We want everyone to be present and thoughtful. But and then my other question is motto. What's your favorite mission and motto?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one to think
I know.
of.
I always ask that one. I threw that in because I'm just curious. I want to know what your motto, what you feel like.
One of the things that I actually say all the time, and especially at work, I'll share one from work, and I'll share one that I use with my child. So from work, what's something I say all the time is that like everybody just needs a little more understanding and support. Right?
Oh, that's so good.
Like everybody, I'm like, or sometimes
That's the professional one?
That's a professional one.
That's really good.
Or like, so, because it's important.
Do you hear that, Frank?
Because when we get frustrated, when we get frustrated with people, I'm always like, everyone just needs a little more understanding and support, right?
Yes.
Sometimes that's all everybody needs.
Yes.
And then with my child, I always say, what I was, said with him was, you can't be better than your best, but your best can always get better.
Oh, you can't be better than your best.
But your best can always get better.
Wow, that's good.
Right? Which I think is about
that another one of yours? Because she could have her own book of quotes. Is that another one of yours?
Sometimes I'm like, I have this way of like reducing things to essentializing things.
I see a book. I see a book of all these stories and quotes. I really do.
Yeah.
And then I also love the capitalism. I love that one. But love it. Mine is never, ever, ever give up.
Amazing.
And I was just talking to some young women yesterday. And I was looking at them, and they're all like 14 or 15 years old. And I remember talking to them, like if I could talk to my 14 or 15-year-old self, don't give up. Because you have that little dream. And I said, raise your hand. Do you have dreams? Do you have a dream in your heart to do something in your life? And they all raised their hand. And then I just want them to be able to protect that dream, and it's hard.
It's
right?
hard. It's hard. And I think, And I think what's so interesting is like if you protect it, it'll happen in other ways, in ways you didn't expect necessarily.
Wow.
Like
what happened with
me.
you. Wall Street to now really
totally
going to the mat for the people of our city.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. Ending hope. I just want to end with something hopeful.
Sure. So I think 2 things. I think something that makes me so incredibly hopeful is, to be in a city like ours that like remains committed to survivors of gender-based violence. We're not stepping back. We're not pulling back services. We are doing more. And that's not going away. So I think that's so important for everyone out there, especially in New York City, to know is that like help is here, help is available, and you're not alone. And then on the personal front, I was saying, as I have a 12-year-old, and sometimes I hear him and his language around like boundaries and consent, and sometimes it comes out like, Mom, don't hug me without asking me, right? which isn't my favorite thing.
Great. Wow.
But I'm like, I didn't have that language at 12. And so that makes me really hopeful for all of us going forward.
Our next generation is going to be incredible, right?
Yeah. I hope so.
They're going to be fantastic.
I think they're all really smart.
Everyone scares us with AI and everything else, but I think we're really... some of our young kids, especially our children, we're hopeful. We're hopeful.
Exactly.
They did have incredible moms, though, because it is moms that make it happen.
Most moms are incredible. It's Women's History Month. So.
It really is. We're making it happen. And then the best thing for people to do, again, one more time, how do they reach you? Tell me social media platforms, websites.
Sure. So social media, it's at NYCNGBV, I think on Instagram and on LinkedIn as well. Mm-hmm. The FJCs you can find at www.nyc.gov/FJC, which is, you can find out all the information about our Family Justice Centers.
This was huge, yeah.
Which is like numbers and contact information. And then there's the 24-hour hotline, 1-800-621-HOPE, 1-800-621-4673, which you can call to talk to somebody immediately.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. You'll be back.
Thanks so much.
You're
I'm
on
happy to come
all
back.
of our platforms. We can't get enough of you. Thank you so much. And thanks for what you're doing for our city.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're making it happen. I adore you. I adore you. Yeah. Yeah. I really think it helped that we talked so much before.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
This is great.
Frank, you don't know this, but we had such a great conversation before. I always say that a lot of times the before conversation is sometimes better than the actual.
I know.
But I think in this case it was pretty neck and neck.
We got everything.
Neck and neck.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, Bernie. Did you take a picture? Bernie.
Let me interrupt. Before we wrap, first up, just ask, in case we need another minute.
Okay.
I don't think we do.
Okay.
If we do, would you ask her, is there anything else that's important to you that you want to share?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
She's like, I'm exhausted. She's like, I'm done with this woman, Monica Morales. Okay. Yeah. See, Frank just pushes. He pushes me. He does. He's like a coach. You know, it's like having a coach. Okay. The coach I never wanted. I just want to sit and eat Cheetos, okay? But he's making me do sit-ups. Okay, you ready? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, is there anything else that you might have just missed, we missed or something you can add?
Sure. I mean, I think what I would reiterate a couple things, right, is that like, this microgrant assistance and all of our assistance is available regardless of immigration status, gender identity, or language spoken, and everything we do is free and confidential, right? And so I think that's really important for folks to remember, and that like this is not the only option we have. So if this may not be the right, yes, we need to get this money spent by June 30th.
$1.2 million.
$1.2 million to get it spent by June 30th.
We need to spend it.
But if you can't be part of that, push, you can be part of some of our other programs. We have other programs dedicated to housing stability, economic empowerment, counseling, financial literacy, all of the above, immigration legal services. So we really are here to kind of help you with whatever you need.
I see a regular segment. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thanks.
That was fantastic.